and welcome back to our special series of Master Clips. So in the next episode, we'll be talking about mixing number 2. So adjusting each individual sound. So after the mix is set up, you go in and you work on each individual sound. Talk to us about that.
Right. So we've recorded, we've got 6 tracks, which is super low for a session in 2021. But at the end of the day, all you get is a stereo track, a left and a right. And so we've got to take our 6 mics or 6 tracks and blend them together so that they fit on just a single 2-track, left and right stereo track, MP3 or whatever. And so the way you sort of can do that is by focusing on the individual instruments and using equalization or EQ or compression, which is a tool that reduces the dynamic range, the loud parts and the soft parts, sort of get them a little closer together. And so why don't we start with that? I think if we start with the overhead mic, there's a lot going on in there that we might want to check out. So I'll just go to a random part in the beginning or the middle of the song. Sounds pretty good. I might pull a little bit of low end out just so we can really let that kick mic add some of the punch at the bottom. So I'll pull up an EQ and just start sort of rolling off a little bit of low end. So now look at the kick mic. I just pulled some lows out of the overhead mic, and so what I'll do now is I'll go into the kick mic and see what all I can do in there. Not a lot of low end really happening, so I might switch to a shelf just to bring up a little bit and then dip some out of the super subs. And I'm pulling out a lot of top end because we don't need really any of that. We've got everything that we want on the top end from this overhead mic, which is sort of capturing the whole kit. So what we're trying to do is sort of boost in a little bit of the kick drum to just fill out the bottom. Super punchy now. And so let's bring in some bass. Maybe I'll add a little compression to the bass just to sort of flatten it out a bit. And then I'll start bringing in the other stuff, the guitar and the organ. I don't really like to cut out too much if I don't have to, especially on these types of instruments, because there's so much color that sounds good. So I'll just open up a couple EQs and maybe pull out some of the low end just to make sure we're not stepping on anything that the kick drum's trying to do. And I'll do the same thing with the organ, just sort of treating it by itself first and then hearing how it sounds with the whole. And so now we've got sort of some basic sounds. Let's hear how everything sounds all together. I feel like the organ probably needs a little reverb. It still feels a little bit too in your face. So I'm going to add a little reverb to the organ. Let's see how that sounds. So here's it without it. Cool, I think we're pretty close. It's starting to sound pretty good, and we've got a nice sort of three-dimensional thing happening. We've got the reverbs and the delays working. Again, this is just like a really quick sort of light way of how I would go about doing things normally. Obviously, there'd be a lot more time spent, which we don't have today, but just sort of a rough guide on sort of my process for getting things going.